Welcome to the Real Leadership edition of the Lead Out Loud podcast. I'm Professor G, and we're going to get started right now. Welcome back, everyone, to the Lead Out Loud podcast. I am Professor G. This is the Real Leadership edition, and I am joined today by Amanda K. I like that. I just noticed you just got the Amanda K. I dig it. I dig it. That's probably a little bit better than what I usually call you, which is Manders. At least that's the thing we can say publicly.
I didn't put the other name on.
Fans of the show, both of you, may remember Amanda from a prior episode or three, although I don't think we let you say too much in one of them. But that was back in the day. So welcome back, Amanda. Today, we are discussing A League of Their Own. And A League of Their Own is, it was released in 1992. It stars Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, Lori Petty, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell. Jon Lovitz is in it again. So we've got a couple of people, actually. So our last movie was Big. So that had Tom Hanks. This has Tom Hanks. Jon Lovitz was in Big. Jon Lovitz is in A League of Their Own. Both movies directed by Penny Marshall. And I got a couple other little trivia tidbits, but I'm going to go ahead and read the ChatGPT summary of A League of Their Own.
I can't wait.
I know, right? They did pretty good this time. In 1943, as America's favorite pastime faces suspension due to World War II, candy magnate and Chicago Cubs owner Walter Harvey crafts a bold solution: the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. This move to keep baseball alive brings together women from across the nation, each bringing her own backstory and aspirations to the diamond. The film centers on sisters Dottie Hinson and Kit Keller, who are scouted from an Oregon farm by charming yet persistent Ernie Capadino. That's the Jon Lovitz character.
Charming.
Despite differing motivations, Dottie, the talented catcher, is reluctant yet protective, while Kit, the headstrong pitcher, thrives on competition. They both join the league, landing on the Rockford Peaches. Managed by the washed-up alcoholic former slugger Jimmy Dugan, played by Tom Hanks, the Peaches are initially more of a sideshow than a sports team. Jimmy's disinterest in managing the team is palpable as he spends games drunk and barely conscious in the dugout. It's good work if you can get it. However, the women are not deterred. Dottie steps up as a leader, guiding the Peaches with a mix of stellar play and solid instincts, filling the leadership vacuum and subtly pushing Jimmy towards redemption. As the season progresses, Jimmy sobers up and takes his role more seriously, reflecting a profound character transformation influenced by the team's dedication and Dottie's leadership. This change is punctuated by moments like the famous "there's no crying in baseball" scene, which not only provides humor but also highlights the evolving dynamics between the coach and his players. Meanwhile, tensions between Dottie and Kit build, driven by Kit's feeling of living in her sister's shadow, which culminates in Kit being traded to the Racine Bells. This move sets the stage for the film's climax at the World Series, where the sisters face off in a fraught final game, bringing emotional and narrative arcs to their peak. Off the field, we see moments of personal growth and camaraderie. May teaching Shirley how to read represents the team's growing bond and the empowerment theme running through the film. The season ends with the Peaches, not just as better players, but as a cohesive unit that has significantly changed the initial perceptions of women in baseball. A League of Their Own not only entertains, but also delivers powerful messages about resilience, teamwork, and transformation, making it a poignant exploration of leadership and personal growth in the face of societal challenges. First of all, ChatGPT really loves the word poignant. This is the second time it's used it. Second, I think I'm getting way better at prompting it for these little introductions because that was much better than the one it did for Big. And one thing that's not mentioned there that I'd like to point out is the soundtrack for this movie is fantastic as well.
I remember the music.
It's really good. It's really good. In fact, I used to have that as a compact disc
What's
that I
that?
would play. Yeah, I know, right? A couple of little bits of trivia, and then we'll dive into some leadership conversations here. So, as the summary described, the movie was inspired by a real professional baseball league that existed from 1943 to 1954. The characters are fictional, but they're, I think, like an amalgamation of the actual players. Demi Moore was originally considered for the role of Dottie Hinson. That was the Gina Davis role. But she was pregnant and couldn't do the movie, so she turned it down. Tom Hanks's iconic line, "There's no crying in baseball," was not originally in the script. It was added during production, and of course has become certainly the go-to line for this movie, but also one of the most famous lines in sports movie history. I think that and "Show Me the Money" are probably at the top two. "Show Me the Money's" from a different film that we'll probably cover at some point. And then lastly, all the actresses performed their own stunts and played baseball for several months prior to and during filming. They went through a rigorous training camp to ensure they looked like professional baseball players, which is amazing to think about. I know they were, what year did I say? 92. So I know they were like 30 years younger, but imagining Rosie O'Donnell actually doing her own baseball stunts, and even Madonna, it's mind-boggling.
I think the only one that didn't do her own was when Gina Davis slid into the splits.
Yeah, I wonder.
The only one, supposedly. That's from
I mean,
what I saw.
and those are really the stunts we're talking about. I mean, there was some sliding, there were some trick catches that they made, but still, that's pretty cool. Okay, so that is A League of Their Own. Manders, what leadership moment stands out the most to you in this film?
You even said that this would be the question.
I mean, yeah, I gave you a heads up.
You definitely did. And I tried to think about that while watching it. I mean, you kind of want to say, oh, the big sister kind of role, but no, I didn't like that part.
Well, look, we can start there.
You know what? No, we could. I mean, early on though, right? It's where there's John Lovitz and he's recruiting, and he is, he has to put this team together, and they have to be cohesive. Although, maybe it's almost like going the other way, where it's not as much leadership as, they're just looking for plump peaches.
Yeah, for sure. Because as evidenced by when they go to recruit, was it Marla?
Yes.
I think it's Marla. Hang on, let me make sure I've got that right. Oh, I forgot a piece of trivia too. Yeah, Marla Hooch. So let's talk about the recruiting for a minute. So yeah, for those that haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a minute, I mean, the movie really starts off. It's John Lovitz, and he's traveling by train, going to different cities, and going to cities that have women baseball teams, or really their softball teams, as depicted in the movie. And he's just looking for the best players that also fit a particular mold, shall we say. So Ira Lowenstein is he's the guy who was tasked by the chocolate guy. Now I forgot his name. I just read it. It was played by oh goodness, Harvey. Walter Harvey, played by Gary Marshall. So Walter Harvey owns the league. He tasks Ira Lowenstein to go put this women's team together, and Ira, as he's clearly been told, look, the men are away at war, and they're not really taking this seriously in terms of baseball. They just want to put some pretty girls out on the field to keep money coming in to the franchise. And we see that a little bit later where, they get their uniforms, and their uniforms aren't baseball uniforms. They look like they're going to be waitresses at the Ruby's restaurant or something. So as John Lovitz's character, as Ernie's going around, he's looking for good baseball players that actually are also going to be nice to look at. And we see him, they make a stop. I forget I think it's in Colorado maybe. So they go from Oregon, he picks up Dottie and Kit, and they go and watch Marla, and she is just belting out hit after hit. They're inside of a gym, she keeps breaking windows, and her dad is standing off to the side. And there's kind of some distance from where Ernie is observing and where Marla is, and she keeps her head down and she's got a hat on, and he's like, wow, she's really great. So he walks up to meet her, and she kind of pops her head up, and she's been made to look not great. She's not the prettiest girl, and so John Lovitz's character, he's going to pass on her, but she's a good ball player. So there's a couple of things that I noted down about Ernie's character, actually. One is he kind of keeps getting lucky. Like, he's out to do a job. I'm not sure how good he really is at his job. I mean, I think he's good at his job. He's a good soldier. He was told, go find this character, right? These people. But then he kind of gets lucky because Marla's a great player. He passes initially on Dottie's sister Kit because he didn't see her. She didn't perform well in the game that he observed. And Dottie says, look, I'll go if she goes. And so he kind of gets, stuck recruiting them both. But Kit turns out to be a great pitcher for the team. So I don't know what I kind of went on a filibuster there, but I do think you brought that up, and I think that's an interesting. He's an interesting character, Ernie.
Well, and also interestingly that Dottie didn't want to go, and Kit really wanted to go. So the only reason she joined was because Kit harassed her to go.
Yeah. One last note on Ernie. One thing I really like about his character, he stays in his lane. He knows his role. So he goes, he picks these girls up, he takes them via train to wherever I guess they're going to Chicago, right? It's basically supposed to be Wrigley Field, although now it's Harvey Field. So he gets them to Chicago. And then he's like, okay, they walk out onto the field, and he goes, all right, ladies, I'll see you later. And they're going, wait, what? You're leaving? He's like, yeah, I got to go home. I'm going to kiss the wife, and then I'm off to the next one, right? He's not trying to be more than his role requires.
Yeah, well, he doesn't need to be.
He doesn't need to be, but if we look in industry, that's rare. People don't just go and, they're always vying for something. He's like, no, this is my job. I've done my job. I'm out, and I'm off and running. Okay, cool. Let's, who else? Who would you like to discuss next? I asked you about a leadership moment, but let's go into the characters. Like, who's your favorite leader character?
Dottie is really the one that leads, right? And so because she helps to keep the team together. And even when Jimmy is being his drunk self, she is the one that, makes everyone cohesive and makes sure that the team is, actually practicing, playing, and taking it seriously. Like, she wants them to actually be a team and not just a bunch of skirts.
Which is ironic because she didn't want to go.
But
She wasn't even interested.
because she's there and she committed, then she's doing what she needs to do.
Well, and yeah, and she's there to play baseball. Although she she's really a great team player, and I don't mean that, it's kind of a little double entendre there. Obviously, she's on a team, but she's kind of towing the line for this corporate organization, because she gets into the show part. She gets it. She's like, oh, okay, they want us to be here to look good. I want to play baseball. But I mean, she's the catcher, and we see some scenes where, all right, high fly ball back behind the plate, and she catches it behind herself, or she does the splits while she's catching it. So she's trying to play it up, which is interesting. I like Dottie because, so on our last show, Brian used the term leading from behind. I prefer the term informal leadership. Dottie's not the manager. Jimmy is, and we'll get to him in a minute. But Dottie has this compelling need, it seems, to step in and keep things on track. Maybe it's because she is the older sister. She's the oldest child, obviously, so she's trying to bring order to chaos. The first time we see that is when it's their first game, and I feel like this is another big scene. Jimmy Dugan, their manager, played by Tom Hanks, he stumbles into the locker room, and they're all excited to see him because he's a famous baseball player. And he doesn't say hi to anybody. He's not high-fiving. He doesn't even acknowledge anybody. He just goes and he's got to pee. And he pees for like a minute and a half. And then proceeds to spend the game, like he just disappears. And Dottie says, how hard can it be to make a lineup? They don't even have a lineup. She just steps in, starts making a lineup. And I think that's where we start to now get the real first indication that, oh, okay, we've got our leader here of the team. There's a couple other times when Dottie sort of steps in. The team goes out so they're not supposed to be drinking. They're not supposed to be carousing with men. And the whole team goes out to a bar and does exactly those things.
Good for them.
And Dottie finds out that Ira is headed to that same bar, and so she goes in ahead of time, and she gets everybody out so that they don't get in trouble. She's the one giving the signs during the games. She's telling them when to steal. So basically, she steps in as the de facto manager because there's this vacuum of leadership.
Even when Jimmy does try to assert control.
Yeah, they clash at first. They clash at first. I mean, I guess the analogy here is that, we take this into into real life. Have you ever been on a team? You've been in an organization where you didn't have a strong leader, and it's like, well, somebody's going to rise to the top. Somebody's going to fill that void, that vacuum.
Yes. No, and I mean, to get the job done, whatever the project or the task is, somebody does have to step up. When there is a lack of leadership or a lack of, even vision.
So there's some aspects of Dottie's character that she's very honest. That was one of the things I wrote down. I put a little arrow here on my notes. Always honest. We see that. The most significant time we see that is when her sister Kit. They're playing the team. It's a really close game. Kit's pitching. She's never not finished, and she's clearly tired. So they go out to the mound, and Dottie is asked, what do you think? And Dottie says, you don't have a curve. She just needs another one more curveball. She goes, you don't have a curveball left. And it's kind of a harsh moment, but it's honest. And I wonder, here again, you take this into industry. A lot of times the formal manager lacks some of that honesty and transparency because they're inside of this institutional framework, and they sometimes maybe either don't feel like they can be honest, or they lack the fortitude for it. So, if Dottie was the manager, does she still say the same thing? Or is it because she's got this informal leadership role that she's brutally honest?
I don't think she has to be brutally honest, but I think, though, maybe it is easier, to use that term again, lead from behind, right? And when it is a more informal leadership, you can sometimes say the things that the official leader maybe not be able to say.
Yeah, she can get away with more. Now, I realize that it's also her sister, so there's that. But I mean, even with doing the lineup and stuff, she's clearly this no nonsense person. No, we've got a job to do. We're going to go complete the mission.
Well, maybe there's that line also between like being, stepping in as the unofficial leader, but then also Kit's older sister, right? She has to kind of walk the line on, which one is she going to be?
She clearly does not have a problem, though, being the older sister. And I thought I had another note here somewhere, but maybe not. It really comes back to, she's the one who, take Kit out. She could play the family card, like, no, we want as many members of our family to stay in the game. We want to be the heroes. But she recognizes that, okay, if we keep going down this path, we're not going to win. So we're going to make the hard decision to take Kit out of the game. Or she ends up getting traded later on. Now, I don't think that was Dottie's fault.
No.
Well, let's talk about Kit for a minute. What's your take on Kit?
I mean, she's kind of the bratty younger sister. Not
Yeah.
even kind of, she is. And then, and Dottie has to go along with her brattiness, right? She's used to it. This is not the first time.
She doesn't tolerate it, though. I mean, I guess maybe a little bit, but she's definitely got a limit. I wrote down for Kit, she's very stubborn. She knows what's up. She just likes to take the contrarian position sometimes, but also I wrote down she's always the victim. She plays the victim card. She plays that kind of that woe is me card a lot. And I think that's kind of how she ends up, getting traded. But even in the beginning of the movie, I mean, she goes up to bat first. She's batting before Dottie, and Dottie tells her, "Hey, watch those high fastballs. Don't swing at the high fastball." She likes, I like the high fastballs. She strikes out. Doesn't listen to her sister. Strikes out, which then opens the door for Dottie to come up to bat. Knocks the winning run in. Gets a hit, knocks the winning run in, and so now Dottie's the hero, and Kit's not, and Kit's oh, woe is me. I've worked with those people too.
Well, and then also maybe there's some resentment from Kit that the only reason she was there is because of Dottie.
Interesting. Yeah. So then, okay, so does she know? Does she know that Dottie's better, or does she think that Dottie just gets all the breaks?
There's got to be both. I think
Is Dottie better?
I think she knows Dottie is better, but then she, you know what? No, I think she thinks that she is better, but then Dottie gets the breaks, and so if she wants her own break, she has to go along with it.
She gets the breaks because she's the oldest, or prettier, or whatever, right? But yeah. So okay, what's the lesson there? What is the lesson to the dear listener there? Because I think there is one.
I mean, when it comes to being in a team and leadership, I mean, it is a team, so take the breaks when you can get them, however they fall to you.
Yeah, and also, how does this movie change? How do the characters develop differently if Kit takes her sister's advice in that scene back in, I think they're in Oregon. They're playing the baseball game. Hey, watch the high fastballs. Hey, thanks, sis. Right? Okay. Now she takes the high fastball. Doesn't swing at it. Maybe she gets the hit. But she's like a new college hire, man. She's out there and she's like, no.
Of course I know better than you, old person.
I know better. She's ambitious. She's like, I know what I'm doing. I know better. I don't need you to tell me what to do.
It's the I know better.
Yeah. And it doesn't serve her well. And it's also not a good look.
No.
Okay.
And I think she eventually learns, though. I think that's part of Dottie is she does the lead by example.
Dottie leads by example. And so do you think Kit eventually gets the message?
She has to. I mean, she's not that dense. Like you said, she's smart. She knows what's going on. And so at some point she does get the message. And they're so close, literally.
I just remembered the other thing. I don't know where I wrote it down, but I remember what it was. Part of this dynamic and part of what I think why I like Dottie as the leader, she doesn't hold back. She's a little savage, actually. And here's what I mean by that. So okay, Kit gets traded to the other team. Now they're basically in the equivalent of the World Series, and they're playing each other, sisters against sister. It's Kit's turn to bat. And what does Dottie tell the pitcher on her team? She goes to the mound. She says, high fastballs. She can't resist them and she can't hit them. Holy shit. I mean, we go back to she's there to play, right? She's there to complete the mission for her team. And she doesn't care. And she's going to use every bit of information that she's got. Now, flip that over, though, to Kit. This is an advantage for Kit in that Dottie doesn't treat her with kid gloves. She's trying to put her in the most realistic positions possible. Probably not because she's trying to build up her character. She's trying to do... She wants to win. But Kit, I mean, that's tough. That's tough growing up with that and maybe not being able to see how that is benefiting her. But I think it is. It's helping her to be the better baseball player. I think she ends up hitting. I think that's when she gets the winning run for her team. and they end up winning. But it's still a savage move.
It is. I mean, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What if it was your kid?
For the World Series.
Yeah. What if it's mother-daughter? Does that change the dynamic?
I think it would. For me, it would. I actually like my kid.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Is this because, so does Dottie not like her? Is this a leadership flaw? Is this a flaw in her character? Or is this her trying to just bring everybody up to a better level?
I mean, you know what? I think maybe it is the latter, right? Because she knows Kit better, probably better than Kit knows herself too, and knows that Kit is self-aware enough to see that, and so then she does hit it.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Kit has the certainly not in the beginning. Maybe at the end of the movie she does.
The end,
maybe at the end. Maybe at the end. Okay, she's had this evolution.
You know, maybe getting traded, right? That was what she needed to be out of.
She's out of her sister's shadow, and now she can truly compete head to head with her because, boy, that's interesting. Yeah, when they're on the same team, she can't really. It's more difficult for her to assert herself and show how much better she is without harming the team as a whole. But you're right. Okay, she gets traded. Now it's much easier for her to be maybe the best version of herself, which, boy, you know, if you're the manager of a team, being able to recognize that kind of a dynamic and then having the ability to go, you know what, I'm going to put this person over here on this project and this person over here on this project so that now I've got these two people. They don't do well together. But if I separate them, maybe even make it a competition. How many times do we see that? We used to do that all the time at Boeing. I think they still do it with innovation challenges. They make it a challenge. And that level of competition then helps people level up. I don't think this was orchestrated that way. They kind of play this out. It's a little bit more dramatic and more of a personal conflict that has her ending up on the other team. But I think you're right. I think it worked out well for her. Let's talk about Jimmy Dugan. Because what I like about his character, this is where I think we see the most amount of evolution of both a character and a leader. This starts off.
Well, he starts off as no leader.
Yeah, right.
I mean, not even wanting to.
Why is he chosen? Why'd they put him in? Why'd they say, hey, I want you to go manage this team?
His name? His history?
Yeah. It's just like the rest of the league, right? Hey, we're going to get these pretty girls and put them in skirts just so we can bring in some money and keep this thing afloat until the war's over. Let's go get Jimmy Dugan, not because he's a great coach, but because people will recognize the name and maybe he'll bring in some more. In fact, he's told, look, all you got to do, you walk out of the dugout at the beginning of the game, you wave your cap and you go sit down, right? And that's exactly what he does. And I think it's Ira, who's the guy who. So Harvey, Walter Harvey's the one, the owner of everything. He's the one that told Jimmy that. But then Ira's kind of saying, like, look, your team is falling apart. And Jimmy tells him, look, it was made very clear to me what my role is here. So what changes? Because he's not that guy by the end of the movie.
I think he sees Dottie lead. And he sees that she sees the potential of the team. And whether it's just that he wants to be a part of it or he knows that he can do it, right? Maybe it just awakens something, the leader in him.
Yeah, so we start to see now, I think, a little bit of a competition between them. In fact,
A
we
lot of
literally see
competition.
that. We literally see that. Like, there's this turning point where he's in the dugout, and he's kind of like one eye open. He's sort of he realizes, wait a minute, there might be some talent out here on the field. It might not just be a bunch of pretty girls in skirts. And so he starts half paying attention, and Dottie's the one giving all the signals and she's filling in as the manager, and she does some things he disagrees with. And he can't hold himself back. So he starts giving the hitter, I think it's Marla up at the plate. He's giving her conflicting signs.
Right.
They're going back and forth. But that's this moment of awakening now for him. And it took, I don't know, I guess it took him seeing, okay, wait, there's some real talent here. And then it took him going, wait, I think I can do this better.
Do you think it's that he saw that there was talent, or that there was something happening and he just wanted in on it?
I think he's pretty apathetic going into this. So the reason he's not playing anymore is he was injured. He was injured. We're led to believe he was injured doing something stupid because he was drunk. And so now he's kind of gotten into this woe is me, this is my life, oh well. I think he gets awakened because it's reigniting his passion for the game and what he likes to do. And I think suddenly he sees a path to being able to be relevant and contribute again.
All right.
Which is, I mean, at the heart of that is motivation. I mean, here's where we do the shameless plug for Lead Out Loud workshops. I mean, I've built a series of workshops. I teach classes where at the heart of it is motivation. You can go to lolworkshop.com, by the way, and check out those offerings. But it's motivation. And I think if you look at autonomy, mastery, purpose, autonomy's not a problem for him. He was told, hey, go out and wave your hat. I don't think he feels like he can demonstrate his mastery anymore because of his injury. And I think that affected his ability to see his purpose. And all of a sudden, he sees them doing stuff. He sees where, hey, hold on a second. I could do this a little bit better. And all of a sudden now his purpose is reignited and he comes to life. And then we see this evolution. He goes from not caring about anybody, not really talking to anybody, to, okay, he's trying to give the signs. Now he's sitting next to Dottie and he's teaching her how to chew tobacco. Okay, the guy who first walked in doesn't care about that, but he's developing this sort of bond and this rapport. And I think I'll ask you. There's a moment, my favorite leadership moment for him, where I think we see, okay, the transformation, it's happened. And now he becomes truly, he's the good guy. He's the protagonist in the story. What do you think that is for me? What do you think I'm going to say? Do you remember? Let's see if you remember.
I mean, maybe the most obvious moment is when he does there's no crying in baseball.
So that's not it, but that is an interesting moment. And what's funny about that, I wrote this down too. So he gives some feedback, very direct feedback to one of the girls, and she starts crying. And then, what are you doing? There's no crying in baseball. Now he's kind of yelling. So the umpire comes over, and let's see if I can find the quote. The umpire comes over. He's going, hey, what's going on, Jimmy? He's going, I gave her some feedback. Now she's crying. And he says, the umpire says to him, perhaps you chastised her too vehemently. But I'm with you. This is a moment where the fact that he's chastising them indicates that he cares.
Right.
I don't think, for me, that's not where the transformation was complete, though. And I'll go back to ChatGPT's word, the poignant moment of his transformation. There's a war going on. These are all the wives and the girlfriends of the men that are fighting overseas. They're all anxiously awaiting word from their boyfriends and husbands that they're okay, what's going on. And here comes a messenger to the locker room, and he's got one of these dreaded telegrams from the War Department. Everybody knows what it is. It's a death notification. And so they're silent. And they're all holding their breath, waiting. And this guy is like fumbling around. You know, he's this young kid, fumbling around like he's delivering a candygram on Valentine's Day. Oh, let me see, who's this for? Who's this for? It's almost like, who's the lucky lady? And Jimmy walks over, rips it out of his hand, kicks him out of the locker room, and says, "Just get out. I'll take care of it." Opens it up, goes over, delivers it to the woman. But I mean, he doesn't do that if he doesn't care. He doesn't do that if he hasn't risen to the call of leadership. I mean, now he's the manager of the team. I think that's maybe the best leadership moment in the movie.
For him, for sure. And how different would it have been if it had been that he stepped up only because he saw there was something and he wanted a part of it, rather than seeing that there was talent and wanting to cultivate it?
I mean, I think he's seeing there's talent, and now he's caring. He cares. How important is it for a leader to care?
No, really, and it's again, it goes back to the like the leader just stepping up, not him, but only because they see that the team is doing well, so they want in on it to take a part of it.
Yeah, they're going to use it as the evidence that they need for their next promotion.
Yeah.
Does this change if he has the ambition going in to be a manager? Maybe he wants to be the owner of a team. Does that change anything? Does that change how he approaches this, how he behaves, does that change this moment?
It depends on how much he actually cares, like about the team and about them.
Yeah.
It does seem like he does care about them as people rather than just the team.
Well, he starts to, like, he didn't in the beginning.
Right.
He thought it was a joke. But yeah, he obviously he does. I mean, at the end, Dottie's husband comes home, and she's going to leave. And wait, you're leaving? What do you mean you're leaving? In fact, she does leave. And then she comes back. Yeah. Yeah. And then she comes back for the last game. And he says, "Who says you can play?" Right? It's a funny scene because of where we started. And now all of a sudden he's exercising this, it's faux dominance, I guess is the right word. But yeah, who says you can play? Like, well, wait, this started off, she was the one who was managing the whole team and doing all the coaching.
I mean, they're still there because she stepped up.
Do you have anything else on Jimmy? There's a couple of little quick highlights I've got on another character or two. But anything else on Jimmy before we go to that?
Well, I mean, would he have started to care if the team wasn't showing that they could play?
That's a
Like,
great
if Dottie
question.
hadn't stepped up and hadn't started coaching.
You know what? Let's say she did step up and started coaching, but the capabilities of the team were not there. What if they're not good baseball players? This turns out they are, and they needed some guidance and coaching and leadership. What if they're not good baseball players? Does
Well,
he
but then
still
maybe
step in?
they wouldn't have been recruited though, right? Because that was John Lovett's his job.
Yeah, but what if
Or if it was supposed to all be just plump peaches and skirts.
what if that truly is what he did? What if he emphasized the looks good in a skirt 3 times over, are they good players? And you end up with, look, this team, all the teams, they ended up with good baseball players that also looked good in skirts. But what if they ended up with women who looked good that were okay? They knew how to play, and they didn't do very well. Does Jimmy Dugan step up and try to make them better? I don't know the answer to that. I would like people to weigh in. Go add a comment, send us an email. I think that's an interesting thought experiment.
Because
Let's talk.
would he have started to care about them like he did too?
Right. I'm going to say I think he would. In fact, so I don't know, but I'm gonna give an opinion. I think he would have. I think his caring, the fact that they were good at baseball, that opened the door to him to start to open up and get to know them. And then, of course, we see he develops relationships with them, and he's caring. I think he still will care if they're not good baseball players. I think now we need a different inciting event, a different mechanism for him to start seeing that. I think that's the part that changes. I think you do still end up with him caring. I think that was in his character buried deep down somewhere. I've mentioned Ira a couple of times. Let's hit him real quick. Ira Lowenstein, he's the guy who's basically been tasked, hey, go make this thing happen, this women's baseball league. He's now got this, he's been delivered a difficult employee in Jimmy. But also, he says something, he doesn't know what to do. He's told to go make this work. And I wrote down, he's trying his best, but he does not know what to do. This whole thing is kind of like, wait, we're going to get a bunch of women to play baseball, and we want them to look good. But he kind of he latches onto it, right? They go, whoa, we're not wearing those uniforms. We can't play in those. And he says, listen, you play in these or you don't play for us. Oh, okay. Man, for a guy who doesn't know what to do, I appreciate that he made a decision. He decided and acted. I think that's one of the Amazon leadership principles, decide and act. Maybe I was Boeing, I can't remember. But okay, good for you, Ira. And then he says to Walter Harvey at some point, because he finds out that they might pull the plug on the whole thing. He says, look, I sold a product when there was no product. Ira's a salesman, man.
He is.
He took something that wasn't defined, didn't even know what it was, and made it a thing. I think there's something to be said about that kind of leadership. Or maybe there's not. What do you think about Marla's dad? This is kind of a very minor character. Mm-hmm. So remember, her dad's the one. He's like,
he just wanted his girl to play baseball.
Yeah, but to his own detriment, because we're led to believe that Marla kind of is his helper on I think they own a farm. They run a farm. And so here he is trying to send her off for this baseball league, but now that means he's going to be without the help that that he needs. I thought that was cool. He's all right. He's willing to sacrifice for the greater good. This is going to be good. And it turns out, Marla goes and meets
For her,
a guy
her
and
greater
gets married. And I don't think that's how he thought it was going to play out, or maybe he did. I don't know, but
it's nice that it played out.
so anyway, I thought it was worth giving Dave Hooch a shout out. I had to go look up what his name was because they don't actually use it in the movie. And then the other one, May, teaches Shirley how to read. I thought that was a great, it's a good character building moment, right? You see the team starting to come together, and they see somebody who is in need, somebody who needs some help, and they step in. In this case, it was May. Any other thoughts or characters?
We're talking about the team, learning to care about each other, like, becoming a team. And maybe it would not have happened if Dottie hadn't cared enough herself to start coaching them and to get them going and to make them feel like a team in the first place.
They needed that informal leadership kickstart to start to come together, and then that paved the way. I don't know. I think that happens a lot. You've got a formal team, you've got a manager or a leader of the team who has the title, but it's those people behind the scenes, those people, the informal leaders that are oftentimes going and executing on those things. I mean, even Ira, I think he was officially in charge, but he's kind of like, all right, I'm going to go make it happen. Dottie's doing that for Jimmy. It's a much better example of that because Dottie didn't really have any formal title. It is. It's a good team building story.
Literally.
Literally. They built a team.
They built a team.
Okay. As we begin to wrap this up, what if you could give one piece of advice of a leadership variety, because this is the Lead Out Loud podcast, one piece of leadership advice to a character, which character would it be, and what would the advice be that you give?
I think it's, as a leader, recognizing when you do have talent and letting it shine. And so I think, even though Jimmy and Dottie were kind of battling for dominance for a while, he did recognize that she had skills and her leading was beneficial to the team.
So your advice would be to Dottie?
Oh, Jimmy.
To Jimmy, okay.
Yes.
Your advice would be to Jimmy, and it would be what?
Recognizing when you do have talent, right? And letting the talent.
Okay. I think for me, I feel like I need to whisper something to Kit, and I'm not sure though. I'm always conflicted because I second guess how it's going to be received, and I think, okay, well, I could tell her this, but it's not gonna land. But I'd want to tell Kit something about stop being the victim. You've got talent. If your talent isn't shining, it's not because of your sister or anybody else. It's because of you. So own it and let's go. Let's go.
Do you think if she heard that from Jimmy, she would have listened?
I think she needed to hear it from somebody other than her sister.
Right. Definitely if it was from Dottie, she would have blown it off and got angry.
I think that's why I want to give her an alternate voice in her ear that maybe she'll listen to. Maybe she wouldn't, but at least there's a better chance of it landing if it's not her sister. And yeah, Jimmy would have been a great person to do that, but he didn't do it. So in this fictional scenario, now I have to do it.
She would have listened to you.
All right, Manders. So as the only person here today on the show, you get to offer a suggestion for what do we do next?
Ooh.
Drum roll, please.
I know. I would love to see, and maybe it's too new of a movie whether we could do it or not, but honestly, I would love to see like Civil War, Captain America Civil War.
Oh, okay.
Because they are at odds. There are, they do get split up, and there are several leaders, depending on whatever side you're on.
All right. Well, listen, it doesn't matter. I guess the only reason it would matter if it's too new is if it's only in theaters. That might be difficult for all of us to go watch.
No, it's on Disney Plus.
But yeah, it doesn't matter, newer, older. We don't discriminate there. So we'll put that on the list here. Civil War, Captain America. And that's it. That's it for this episode.
And the title is actually Captain America Civil War.
Okay. All right. Captain America. Is there a colon?
There
Doesn't
is.
matter. I'll look it up.
There is.
Captain America, Civil War, which may be the next episode, may be a future episode. You're just going to have to come back to find out. Manders, thanks so much for hanging out and discussing A League of Their Own.
Thank you for having me.
That's it for this episode of the Real Leadership edition of the Lead Out Loud podcast. I am Professor G. We'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Go hit the like button if you're on whatever podcast platform. See ya.